My name is Wilfred Ryan. I'm a pilot, the president of Ryanair, and Bush, Alaska is my home. Our ancestors have been tied to this land for thousands of years. Today, this land is dotted by tiny villages, separated by large distances with no roads to connect them together or to the outside world. No roads, and the prospects for roads are slim because 2/3 of the state is protected as federal public lands. And even in areas where roads would be allowed, the cost would be prohibitive. So 82% of the communities in rural Alaska are only accessible by air. The pilots, their planes, and the airports and airstrips where they take off and land are the lifeline for our communities and our people.
My name is Baron Sample. Teaching these students in particular, one of my main goals is to expose them to things that they may not have the ability or been exposed to before. So just getting them in touch with the outside world, getting them aware of what's out there and ways to actually reach for it and grab those things.
Aviation plays a big role in everything that we do here at the school, from feeding the children to getting school supplies to moving students around the state.
We are not connected to any other place by road. We just cannot hop on a bus and drive off to our next school to compete at. We're flying.
My name is Henry Canuli. I played ball for 6 years and I stayed here my whole life in Akachuk. I like playing basketball because we can travel to other places and meet new friends.
For people like Akachuk student Henry Canuli, having to fly to his next basketball game is just part of life out here. In most of the country, when you need to get somewhere, you get in your car and drive. Roads will lead you anywhere. And there are other options too, means of travel and commerce that most take for granted. In rural Alaska, nothing is taken for granted.
Rural America is so different from this. In rural America, you have roads, you have access to services. You can get in your car and you can drive to a store, even if it takes a few hours. There's simply not that option here.
The lifeline of the community is aviation. We have more pilots, more areas without roads than any other place in America. Everything that moves in a lot of parts of Western Alaska is by aircraft.
Without aviation in the Alaska State Trooper, especially predominantly in this detachment, we couldn't do our job. I would say a little over 90% of all criminal activity, whether it be crimes or search and rescues, 90% of that involves aircraft.
Bethel, Alaska is the second busiest cargo airport in the state, serving 56 villages in the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, an area roughly the size of Oregon.
I would say rural Alaska depends on aviation. There is no alternative. Barges are seasonal. People fly out to have their babies are brought back on airplanes, so their whole life deals with aviation and all the major moments of their life.
The challenges of getting supplies to places like the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta make the cost of living remarkably high.
We're in the Linden Air Cargo Facility. Everything in the village and in the grocery stores here in Bethel comes, especially in the wintertime, through us.
Located near the airport is the Bethel Hospital, which serves 30,000 people in neighboring communities, and many services provided by the Yukon-Kuskokwim Health Corporation rely on aviation.
Well, our mission is really to help assure that the people of the YK Delta are the healthiest people that they can be.
We have 41 clinics in remote Alaska. That's a challenge in itself, whether it's getting oxygen out to those villages or bringing medical specimens back or bringing immunizations out. They're temperature and time sensitive things, and certainly air is the only way to do that effectively.
anything from infant checkups to just people being sick, but they don't warrant a medevac flight. They need to be seen by a doctor or to be seen by dentists, or just everything that healthcare related that somebody might need. They have to come into Bethel.
Well, our patients are, well, like any other patient in the world, really. They have the same health challenges, the same health conditions, and everybody has the same hopes and aspirations. They all want to be well. They all want to thrive. They all want to have families that are happy, and they want to be of value to their loved ones.
If you live in the lower 48 and you have chest pain and you're having a heart attack, you're accustomed to picking up the phone, dialing 911, and 6 to 8 minutes later an ambulance shows up at your door, providing life-saving care for you and transporting you to a hospital to where you get definitive care and you're treated for your heart attack. In rural Alaska and western Alaska, where we service, if you have a heart attack in the villages, we are 911. So this airplane is activated. We'll fly to your village. We're bringing the life-saving equipment we need to take care of you.
Aviation contributes 47,000 jobs and $3.5 billion to the Alaska economy. And while that is significant, the airports serve an even more fundamental role, simply getting basic everyday goods and services to the residents of rural Alaska.
We try to survive on what we have. When we need a lot of things, at times in the villages, the planes bring them. Now we have airports. That is very important to me, very, very important.
Everything lands on an airstrip, a gravel strip, in the middle of hundreds of miles of blank tundra.
If you build a mile of road, it takes you a mile out of town, but if you build a mile of runway, it takes you to the world.
This is the Alaska Village, where roads are not an option. People can choose to reach the outside world. And even if roads were an option, building and maintaining airports is far more economical. So, Alaskans understand that continued investment in aviation is critical to keeping us connected and preserving our lifeline.